profitability for non-performing loans. We dug into our actual real data that was a portfolio of loans, and looked into different factors that were associated with profitability, and using a measure of IRR to measure that. So we published that paper. I want to say it's been just over 10 years ago. And from there, I have been working with PEMCO Capital. So I've been with the company for just about 10 years now. My track record here is largely in asset management and acquisitions, and I currently hold the title of managing director now. But my history here has been overseeing our portfolio and targeting acquisitions that are a good fit for our company.
And a little bit about the firm itself, right? You guys, how long have you guys been around, and the fund that was beforehand, the initial one?
Yeah, we're excited to be launching our second fund with Jasmine. Our first fund is just wrapping up now, so this will be our second time through. PEMCO Capital has been around for, I want to say, at least 15 years now, but our management has been in this business with our associated company, PEMCO Limited, has been in the space for more than 50 years. So we're all, distressed real estate and notes focused. PEMCO Limited works on the government side. They did a lot of HUD contracts and asset management in the government sector. PEMCO Capital is specific to, more the private side, but historically we've worked with large institutions. That's the investors that we work with. So it's a little bit of a different field than working with a fund and the individual private investor. So this is our second go around with kind of working with individual investors as opposed to large institutions. And one of the ways that we structured this fund was to give individual investors a way to have a similar return profile of what we offer to our institutional investors. That's pretty hard to find. What we found is that's hard to find a lot of the time for an individual investor, and we wanted to, extend that out through our fund.
Right. So part of what excites me about bringing this to our community, right? I want this to be an interactive thing. So if you guys have questions along the way, you don't have to hold your breath or hold them till the end. Just put up your hand and we'll get you in here. But one of the many things that excites me about this opportunity is many of us have invested for a long time together, right? And so we do what I call a brick by brick strategy. We'll get some notes, we'll build our own portfolios, right? We've learned that we make some really good money, but in the end, there's a lot of management that's involved, right? And depending on if we get an asset level and start working with the actual asset through foreclosure process, which that's some of our business models, right? That it can also be a little bit more work. And so what we've been able to align ourselves with this company is a company that has systems, right, nationwide. So I want you to talk a little bit more about how your reach nationwide and some of the states that you've done business in and your teams, because you're looking at a community here who, for the most part, will buy notes nationwide, right? And I'm going to pull up a map that shows you all the places that we bought notes. But with that said, we understand the network that you have to have, right? And so if you have that network, speak to them about how that helps you and to what degree you have that network.
Yeah, we've been doing this for so long, and we'll buy pretty much anywhere. So our attorney, contractor, agent networks, they run pretty deep and across the entire country. So I think I don't know what we put on the list, Jasmine, but I know we're more than 35 states. I want to say maybe closer to 40 states where we've bought assets. And yeah, our boots on the ground team is just already ready to handle pretty much anywhere we're located. I think our current portfolio existing now is at 30 plus states, and then if our full track record was more than 40. So. Oop, Jasmine, you're on mute.
Perfect, thank you. Yeah, I was going to say, so this is a quick tab of some of the areas, and they overlap a lot with where they've done business, right? And so we have exciting news for me and for our community as far as what type of asset classes this fund has access to, they're going to give us access to. So let's talk about, we all know about the HECMs, right? and the those are the reverse mortgages. But Tyler, tell them about the 3 asset classes that you guys have access to, right? And that we will be able to access via your community, your fund, the fund.
Yeah. So what's unique about our company is that we have really close relationships with a few different nonprofits that are established nonprofits, completely independent of our company, but in this space. And there are some state and federal programs that allow nonprofits to participate, either get a first look, a last look, some sort of advantage that allows them to limit the competition. So we've been working with these nonprofits for 10 plus years, and we have strong relationships with them where they trust us to handle management and keep them compliant. So on the investor side, what this allows investors to do, and historically we've done this with institutional investors, to kind of plug in with us and have access to inventory they would not otherwise be able to access. We kind of match the nonprofit with the financing, and we are the manager. We're managing to a double bottom line, obviously making sure the investors are kind of hitting their requirements, but at the same time, we handle reporting, compliance. We do the headache work of working with attorneys to try and get these programs set up. So now we're here. We have these programs set up, and they're viable acquisition channels that we have a track record with our institutional partners, and we're going to be offering them to this fund. So Jasmine mentioned the first one is the HECMs. Sounds like most people here are already pretty familiar with that asset class. What's unique about the HECM auctions with us is that we have a nonprofit that we participate with, and there's a 50% carve out when HUD does these auctions that is exclusive to nonprofits. So that allows us to limit the competition and cut out some of the larger players who, it's just not worth it for them to kind of do the brain damage of trying to figure out these channels that are a little bit more niche, and that's our specialty. So the HECMs is a big one. Those auctions come out usually a few times a year, and that's a place where we can bid a large chunk of money and take down a bunch of assets right at once. And then usually in between those auctions, we have 2 other programs where we're looking at individual assets, and we'll get weekly lists of inventory to kind of focus on in between when the next auctions are being announced. So the other 2 programs are—
Before we get into the other 2 programs, I want to take a pause to talk about the HECMs, which is the reverse mortgages, right? So those are released very frequently. And so for those of you who understand that with the reverse mortgages, right, those are the ones that are either going to be occupied after the owner passes, right, or it's going to be vacant. And we have an opportunity through them to go and get an advantage to get access to these in volume, right? And so I wanted to really hone in on that, because some of you may think to yourself, okay, wonderful. I don't really know so much about how funds and what they operate and what they're doing in the back end. So a lot of you do have experience with reverse mortgages on many different levels. So that's how you can understand what she's able to get in on the big volumes. And so if you have a particular investor or a client who says to themselves, I love what they're doing. Maybe I want to partner with, right? I have 5 million of my own and I want to partner with someone like that. This is the opportunity to get to know funds managers like this who have access and use their resources. But it's not all about us trying to build up on our own. So this is really about building that relationship so you know where and who has the teams to get this done. So they're doing the reverse mortgages by volume. She told you when those are going out. And then I want to introduce you to 2 other specific programs that they take advantage of. So go ahead with those, please.
Yeah, so the second program is CWCOT. That is a nationwide program for any FHA loans that go to foreclosure sale and don't sell at sale the first time. They go into this second chance bucket, and that program has been around for a while. But what's relatively new about that program is that there is a 30-day first look for eligible nonprofits. And we have a nonprofit partner that is eligible for that program. So we're seeing this inventory. We get updated lists weekly from the auction sites that manage these programs. And we get a first look. So for that 30-day period, before they go out to traditional investors, we're pretty much bidding against no one. Not only that, but because they are a nonprofit participating in this program, we get the reserve price. So we're not bidding against anyone, and we'll bid $100 over the reserve, and we pretty much get the property if we want it. So we have agents nationwide that we're sending out. We get these lists, we target what properties we like. We have a certain value band that we like, certain areas. Whatever we're looking for that week, we send out our agents to go drive the properties, give us their feedback on the values, and then we're putting in bids weekly on these properties. And that's because we have the reserve pricing. Well, that's given to the nonprofit, but that investors essentially have access to that through our program. What else is unique about this program that only the nonprofits get for that first look period? For vacant homes, we get an inspection period, which traditional investors do not get. Traditional investors are buying like they would at foreclosure sale. Nonprofits are allowed to walk through the property and nail down the value. You can cancel and have your EMD refunded like a traditional closing if you don't like what you see when you're walking through the property, if there's too much damage. So that is a huge advantage of this program for nonprofits on top of having the reserves. And then otherwise it's a full closing too, title, insurance, all of that. So this has been a great avenue for us because, I mean, the occupied properties, you don't get an inspection period. That's, they're occupied, but we're usually bidding a mixture of them. For those vacant properties, it's kind of a slam dunk deal because you have all the information up front. And then for the occupied, there's a lot of good inventory available in there, and you get a little bit more of a discount usually on them being occupied, but you don't get the inspection. So we usually have a combination of what we buy.
So real quickly on this, the CWCOT program, for those of you who are writing things down, look it up. It's amazing. It's out there for everyone, right? And so this is not necessarily exclusive to the institutions, but this is how institutions come in and can take advantage, right? So when you think about 1% and how they get more money, well, this is what institutions are doing, right? They are able to go out there and not only at a public auction get first dibs, but they get to go in beforehand, right? So this is how we get to take advantage of it, because let's be honest, should we hand out each and every one of these? One, you can go to the auction yourself if you want to get down with that, but it's labor intensive. And so a lot of us are looking for that passive income stream, okay? But want to take advantage of these profits. And so when we think about the price level that they're able to get in, right? And how they're able to take the risk off the table, this is why you're able to see these type of consistent returns. So you might think to yourself, how is it that and we'll talk about the returns of their last fund, if you don't mind getting into that soon after you do the next subclass. But you might ask yourself, how is it that they're able to work and get these consistent returns? Really think about the inventory and the advantages that she's saying that they have right now. So the last one that you have as well, please.
Yeah, and just really quick note on this last program of what you were saying. Anyone who's interested in looking into these programs, they're all on the auction sites. We get aggregated lists from auction.com, Zome, ServiceLink, Realty Bid. These properties, the first looks are listed on their site. As a traditional investor, you're just not eligible to buy until after that 30-day period expires, and then you're bidding against all the other investors. So we're not bidding against anyone. We're pretty much, I believe our nonprofit partner that we work with is the only eligible participant in that 30-day first look. So if there's a property that we want, we get it at the reserve price, and we're not bidding against anyone. Once that 30-day period expires, it opens up to all the regular investors, but you're doing the same thing that you would at a foreclosure sale, where it's getting bid up with other investors. So that's the difference. But yeah, anyone who's interested in looking at it, you can go on to the different sites and you'll see the properties on there. You just have to wait until the exclusive period ends, or the first look ends.
So it's almost like being able to take your money and put it first in line, right? That's what I love about this. So I've had a lot of opportunities, as you guys have seen me, to work with other, and been approached by many different companies. This is a really good fit for us because we understand the underlying asset, right? And we can actually see and understand where that profit is coming from. So anyway, the next one I'm really excited about. So I wanted to save the next one for last. So go ahead, let's talk about that one.
Yeah, and the last program that we're buying through is called SB 1079. This program is a state program specific to California. This law was initially put into place, I want to say back in 2020. And we were our nonprofit partner that we worked with was the largest buyer through the first round of this program. they made some changes to the law, which narrowed down where nonprofits can buy, with some restrictions on who we're selling these properties to. They have to be low to moderate income buyers. So now we're targeting neighborhoods where we can make that model work. And we've just closed out our first two, and we're really excited that not only we hit the return marks that we modeled out, but our nonprofit partner was able to get these buyers $100,000 in down payment assistance. And we got in, I believe one of them was a single mom with 3 kids who never would have been able to purchase a home. So these were really, really exciting for us because, we work with nonprofits, so we're monitoring the outcomes too. We target owner occupants. We track who these properties are getting sold to in all of the programs. Actually, SB 1079 is the only program that has a hard requirement that we sell to an LMI buyer. The other programs don't have any requirements on the resale, but we do get affidavits stating who the properties are being sold to, that they're going to go to an owner occupant for the spirit of the program. That typically, from the investor point of view, we typically don't have too much of an issue trying to find these types of buyers to get into the homes. But for the nonprofits, they love to see that. And, we love to see it. If you can make money and also be helping people get into homes, it's a win-win for sure. So SB 1079
call to make money and go to heaven. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. SB 1079, I think I already mentioned, it's specific to California, but it gives a last look. Unlike the other program gives a first look, you get a last look for eligible nonprofits after foreclosure sale. So that's any foreclosure sale in all of California. If a regular investor is bidding at the sale and they bid $100, a nonprofit can come in and take the property from them for $110. And if we want it, we get it. So there's zero competition in this program, especially with the new requirements, because no one's been able to figure out how to model this out. And it was quite a bit of brain damage. I think we worked on this for a year plus to try and get our first 2 closed, and we're really excited about it. But so this is the last look for any foreclosure sale, with the requirement to resell the home to an LMI buyer. So we're targeting neighborhoods where, that a low to moderate income buyer would actually be able to afford a home. And then what we're excited to potentially be doing in addition is to work with owner occupants through bridge financing for this program as well. Owner occupants are eligible for this program in addition to nonprofits, and they don't have the restrictions on the resale. So what we would like to do is be able to utilize our agent network and work with buyers that actually want to live in these homes. And we would essentially be able to provide bridge financing for them, to actually be able to get into the home and refinance into a traditional mortgage. So that's something that we're excited about the possibility of doing. And we're still working on the early pieces of that, but would potentially be a second way to be involved with this program. And our nonprofit partner is pretty excited about that too, because again, they love to do the down payment assistance. So.
All right. If you know me, I can barely contain myself right now in the seat. Okay. Because so much to unpack here, just from a professional and a personal level to this community and others. First of all, 2021, if you can see the screen, this is not a joke. Look it up. If you don't know about it, I wanted it here so you can write it down and look into it, right? SB 1079 law. So this is what her company is poised to take advantage of in so many ways. When we talk about making money and go to heaven at the NAP, this is what it is, right? And so many of us have thought home ownership is out of the reach in California for people, for ourselves, for other people that we know, okay? This law specifically addresses that. LMI, for those of you who don't know, write it down again, Larry Mike Ice Cream, stands for, what the bankers call and the institutionals call, low to moderate income individuals, right? And so for those of us who are trying to get our legacy, right, to go out and extend further, this is how we do it. We partner with, and we finally have an opportunity to partner with someone who has access like this, not only nationwide, but in California, where you know how that gold hits, right? You know this is a gold mine out here. And so think about, and regardless of what you're talking about, right? And I want her to maybe hit on this, because a lot of you may have questions like, oh gosh, what's happening with the recession coming up? Skip since he's here, I want to talk about, he knows me from so long ago before I even had a son, that all we've been trying to do is help people, him specifically too, right? Of getting to affordable homes, right? And being able to maintain and live in the California and generation, we all don't have to move out. That has been 20 years in the making. So this is a program and this is a company, this is a fund that we've aligned ourselves with. And this is why I chose them as one of to be our first Nap Nation fund, is because they are able to not only follow and help us to make money and go to heaven, but for California specifically, the profit margins here are bananas, right? The living, right? When you talk about do we have a shortage of LMI people looking to get into homes? No, we do not, right? So we're not going to have a problem, especially with the price margin, no matter what happens going forward. And I want you to address that recession. You might be, oh, we have recession. What if the house market goes through it? Listen, we're in very low. And people want to live in California, but let's pause, ask for some questions real quick. We're at about the halfway point here, so I want to make sure everyone gets in questions. But can you, while they're thinking of questions, Tyler, address some of the concerns people may have about maybe any volatility coming up, right?
Yeah, I would say, well, on the one side, so far we have seen extended timelines across the country a little bit, but we have not seen significant price drops. So we're not necessarily sure that we're going to see that. It kind of depends what happens. But if we did see significant home price volatility, we are definitely in a position to handle that. We managed through the COVID, and we managed through the last 2008 crash. There are a few different options. One, I think in times of recession, there's typically actually more of a need for what we're doing. There's more homes coming on the market. There's more people that will, need access to affordable homes. So I don't think that our model is actually suited, maybe even stronger in an environment like that. But the flip side of that is, for a current portfolio that we are holding, we have ways to hedge our portfolio. In 2020, or towards the end of COVID, we were worried when rates started going up that our current portfolio we were holding would be at risk from prices dropping. And we actually placed a hedge on the Case-Shiller index and made a bet against the housing market so that we could be protected for our current portfolio. We lost on it because prices didn't drop as much as we were worried they would. But if that came to be an issue where we were thinking there was a chance that our current portfolio we were holding was at risk, we have that option to hedge the portfolio as well, while simultaneously that typically means there's more inventory coming on the market. So we're situated in a place where no matter what happens in the coming months, I think we're in a good place to move forward for sure.
Excellent. Anybody got any questions? Let me look in the chat. But what do you guys think so far? Huge opportunities out there. Let me see.
You're minimizing the competition, which is great.
That's our specialty. We don't like to compete with the big guys. It's just too hard. The margins aren't there. So what we specialize in is unique acquisition channels where we cut out competition, because we consider ourselves a boutique firm. So like on the HUD HECM auctions on the for-profit side, we're just not going to be able to compete with some of those huge institutions. So instead, some of those institutions will give us a little bit of money to do all the brain damage on the nonprofit side, and they still go and do their thing on the for-profit side, and then they'll place a little bit with us too to be able to kind of capture both sides of it. But yeah, it's just too much work for them to do it, and that's our specialty.
So it's a huge opportunity.
Sorry. I was going to say CWCOT sounds like a game changer as well, when it comes to being able to get in first and then also be able to have the last look as well. For me, that's amazing. This is my first time being on this Zoom, so the information is exciting. I can understand why Jazz is excited, even though she's been doing this a lot longer than I have. Just me being new here, just this information is invaluable.
Yeah, we were very excited about that program. Sorry, Jazz.
Okay, if anybody wants me to go back to a slide, let me know. Sorry, go ahead.
The inspections for the vacant properties is yeah, unheard of. No one else gets that. So I'm happy to show some properties that we've just liquidated, Jasmine, to you if you need some samples. I think I may have already sent you one, but we have one in Illinois we just closed out. I was so excited
Yeah, we'd
about
love
it.
to see that.
How
Can
it
you
ended
share
in
this?
that program, but
Do you
yeah,
have it
I'll
share
send
your
it over
screen?
to you.
Do you have it now or no?
Well, I can just let me see really quick.
While she's checking, what I wanted to say, if you guys have interest in this, we're not going to talk minimums here because if you're a part of the community, we're going to have some special things for you, obviously, right? But what I want to talk to you about is just really getting to know that you'll have an opportunity to meet her. She's going to be in person in Irvine, right? So this is always a two-part series. We want you guys to come and meet us online, kind of get to know each other, kind of see what this is all about. And then if you really like it, then come out and meet our educators, our vendors, right? I come from a place of abundance. I'm not hiding the people that make me successful because you need to be successful. You have to know these people as well, right? So it's a very different vibe out here. But if you're in Irvine, come on out. I think it's the 9th of next month, if I'm correct. We're going to be at the Hera Hub right off the Bake Parkway. So it can't be harder. It can't be easier, I would say, for you to get to right off the freeway. But we'd love to see you there. Yes, Skip, you have a question?
I do, yes. Hi, Tyler. Hey, I specialize in renovation financing and a lot of FHA 203Ks. Is there an exemption on this portfolio of the 90-day rule where that you have to wait 90 days to offer FHA financing for the buyer? Do you
For the
know?
properties that we're acquiring, do we have a 90-day waiting period?
Right,
We do
right.
not.
To sell
Nope.
it to an FHA buyer. There is no.
We're not obligated to sell it to an FHA buyer, nor do we have a waiting period. These were FHA loans that get foreclosed, and then once we acquire the property, yeah, there's no restrictions on them. So
You can sell
Another
it to anybody.
benefit. Go ahead.
Cool.
yeah, the vacant properties, surprisingly, a decent amount of these properties are in pretty good shape. And again, we get the inspection, so we're able to verify that. The timelines for these are pretty ridiculous for the vacant ones. I mean, some of them come over ready to list. We list them and then we're closed out in a few months, and we're able to, flip that money a few times a year. And the returns on those are impressive. Our last fund, I think, we were around an 18% return total, but that was a mix. So the HUD HECM auctions, usually we're buying in bulk, and we'll target more of a 15% IRR on those so that we can take down a big chunk. But that's interspersed with these properties, which there's just not as many as them if you're going to buy a full bulk pool. But the ones that we get, yeah, man, we've just been killing it. So it's a good avenue for sure.
What's interesting to me, I have up here, and let me know if you have found everything to show it. I'm just going to tell them some things in between, Tyler, if you found what you want to show them, an example. But here's a example of the family of companies that they have to take advantage of everything, right? So you might be thinking, hey, do they do a loan origination? How much can they take advantage of this whole cycle and process, right? And so they do have an opportunity to do that, and that's the other thing that contributes to our nice 18% that they were able to deliver last year, right? So think about when people offer you returns like this, you have to ask yourself, well, where and how? And so this is why I wanted you to see this, because you need to know that it makes sense where this is coming from, right? Did you happen to find the example, Tyler?
Yeah, I can.
Okay,
Let me just.
I'll stop presenting. Right at the bottom next to the happy face is a box with an arrow, should be pointing up. And if you click that, you should be able to show them. So you have a couple options while she's doing that, right? If you're part of the community, we're buying one note at a time, one asset at a time. Maybe we're joint venturing on a few assets. But I wanted to also bring a fund option to the community that we feel comfortable with. So that's what this really is. And did you find the button, Tyler?
I did. It's not letting me click share though.
Oh, no?
Oh, there we go. How about now?
Okay.
See?
Not just, oh, there it is. Yes, indeed.
So this is one of the ones we just sold. We didn't really do any repairs on this one. It came over like this. We just sold it for $150. The reserve price on it, I want to say, was, let me just double check from our model. We bought it for $73. I was super excited about this one because it had previously sold within the last year for, I think, $163, and the reserve came in at $73. So I have no idea how this one ended up in this bucket, but we did a little bit of cleaning, and I think we had to do kind of a well inspection for the buyer, but well or septic, something along those lines. But yeah, we just listed this one immediately, and it was a pretty quick turnaround. So this was one of our Illinois ones. Whoops. Just
That's an
pulled that.
amazing example. If you have one more, we'd love to see it. But while I want to walk you through it as she's going through, maybe looking for another one. So this is an opportunity to have your money turned, right? So when we talk about the fund, there's a 5-year minimum. And so if you ask me, if you're worried about the volatility right now, we know what's happening to the stock market. We know what's happening to the commercial market. Okay. I don't want to hate on everything right now, but you know what's happening to those markets right now, right? And so I would recommend, and you know my background, if you don't, I spent a lot of years as a day trader. I'm on Wall Street, all that good stuff. Financial advisor, Morgan Stanley, Dean Witter, let's get it out there. I would shave some profits right now, put them on the sidelines, okay? And heaven forbid you actually put it into a fund like this, right? And for the next 4 years, while everything's going bonkers, you have Tyler and her team taking care of things like this, right? Flipping it, getting something for 75 and then putting it on the market. Regardless, like, even if you have the time and energy for that, maybe let her do it, because you're not going to get it for that price anyway. Right? So I'm excited to bring this to everyone because, one, there's a lot of volatility coming up in the market right now, but some of us are going to be insulated from it, right? You don't see everybody crying right now. So did you have another example by any chance?
I do, but I just was trying to actually pull up the email that I had sent to you with some of the samples. Otherwise, that was a recent closing, but I can pull them from our site. It might just take me a minute.
Yeah, no worries. We've got about 15 minutes left, so I want to open it up for questions. If you have a question, let's get your hands up right there. Like I said, we'll talk minimums offline. If you're interested, I have a link with a password to send you that pitch deck that I just showed you. It has a, I'll pull it up again real quick just to show you while I'm waiting. Just interrupt when you think you find it. But there's a pitch deck right here that we can send you. And so like, you can go ahead and look at all the information we have in here. It includes like the map of our previous deals, a little bit about the programs, right? So we have a whole thing. It has a password involved, so it'll let us know when you're done looking at it so we can speak afterwards. So we're getting the proper information out to you guys, but the opportunity is really amazing. And so there's a couple ways, like you said, brick by brick, right? You can joint venture with people. A lot of us in our buyers club are doing SPVs, using SPVs to take down larger notes or multiple notes. Or if you want to get totally passive, we work with Tyler and her team. Just taking a minute. Did you have anything that available?
Yep. Looks like I just found the email with a few samples that I
Wonderful.
had. So
All right, so we'll wait for her to pull that up. Do you have any questions? Hi, Tiffany. Good to see you.
To see you, Jasmine. It's awesome.
Yeah, Tiffany's out in Southern California too, so you know exactly where she is. She's off of a D Street in Encinitas. This D Street, right, Tyler?
yes.
Oh,
Yeah, if you're familiar with us. So if you're out here, I encourage you to come by. We can always sit down and meet with them if you're interested in investing, and we'll talk more about the opportunity. But yeah, it's an opportunity for us to get in and let them do all the work. And then as far as the quarterly payouts, let's talk about payouts while we have a few more minutes. How will the fund work as far as if you invest?
Yeah, so the fund is going to be offering a 9% return preferred rate, 10% for early investors. Regular later investors will be 9%, and that's a preferred rate. So that will be paid out quarterly once liquidations begin. So once we start taking down inventory, for example, the vacant CWCOT properties, those liquidations will start earlier than, say, a HECM loan in New Jersey, which has a long foreclosure timeline. That property won't liquidate until probably, a year plus more. But once liquidations begin, those distributions will be paid out quarterly for that first 9 or 10%, depending on if you're an early investor. Then anything after that is going to be split 40-60, with the investor getting 60 and 40 staying with PEMCO. The reason we structured the fund this way is, again, this is what we offer our institutional partners to be able to participate in the upside, because our last fund hit 18%. Some of these properties do really, really well. And a lot of funds will just say to their investors, we'll give you 10% return, and then we get to keep anything thereafter. And we don't think that is a fair model. That's not what we give our institutional partners. And that's not what we're going to give you guys. So it'll be, you're guaranteed, or not guaranteed, but that first 9% return, that only goes to you. We'd be working for free if we don't hit that 9%. So we're pretty confident we're going to hit that 9%. So anything thereafter, we don't get paid until at the end of the 5 years when we wrap this fund up. If we've hit higher than the 9%, we only get 40% of that. So that's the model that we think is fair and what we're going to offer to individual investors.
Well, the amazing part again is you're going to get, especially if you invest early, a preferred 10%. Okay, so that 10% is going to be paid you quarterly. A lot of you may be worried about income, right? And so you will have the opportunity to reinvest that if you don't want to have that income hitting. But bottom line is you got 10% if you invest early, 9% preferred, which is again off the cuff. Afterwards, there's that 60-40 split on the cap gains, right? So as we just mentioned, we're selling things and we're making money. So they're going to reinvest. But that 60-40 split is again where this is what institutions get and where we're close to being as a partner with these guys as we can. And so again, another reason why I thought this would be fair to bring to you guys. Yes, Claire, go ahead. Good to have you, by the way, lady. You're on mute. You have a question, we'd love to hear it. I saw your hand went up. I don't know if it was on accident. Hey, Claire, did you have a question? All right, well, maybe she did on accident. If
There
you
it
could
is.
just tell-
Okay, I couldn't find the unmute.
There you are.
Sorry about that. And what's my question? We got to rewind there. Can you invest from your IRA?
Yes, I believe so, but we are going to have some of those more detailed questions included in FAQ that Jasmine should have shortly. We're just wrapping those up. But yes, I believe you can.
So yes, and I can address that directly. That's kind of where my area of expertise comes in. Yes, you can. What we are, as far as launch date, right? We'll be able to accept funds mid-April, somewhere around mid-April. I think that's what our launch date is. So this is a sneak preview to you guys. And in between then, we'll have a slew of FAQs. We're going to add it to that platform right there. So again, so those of you guys are interested, just let us know and we'll send you the link. And then you have a password that you can just log in your email, enter the password, and then you'll have the entire presentation, including the FAQs. But directly, yes, if you have an IRA, this is kind of what this is built for, right? A lot of people like to use this for retirement. I'm not sure if you're aware, but I'll spare you the story now because we only have a few minutes. But one of the stories I tell is about how I love being in Southern California because you have all these gentlemen that are just hanging out right during the day, man. You wonder how they, hey, you want to go out for lunch or something? I'm like, of course do I want to go out to lunch, right? It'll be the middle of noon on a Wednesday. Okay. And so I'm wondering, what are you doing that you can invite me out to lunch on the middle of Wednesday? And they're wondering to me, what are you doing that you can say yes to a random lunch? And so you go out with these guys, and a lot of them, you understand, actually have, just fast forwarding to the end, $100,000 with this fund, $100,000 with this fund, right? And so if you can find opportunities like this and then build relationships with these people, then you can get in and you can see how that works, right? You may have one 100,000 or 200,000 with an oil fund. You guys seen those guys who produce oil, maybe someone that does a lot of venture capitalist things. And then you have one here that's in real estate, something that you actually understand. Looks like she has an example up, so I'm going to go ahead and let her get into it.
Yeah, so this is one of the other ones that we closed a little bit earlier than Blue Mountain just recently closed, but I think this was one of the other samples we had used. Yeah, this one's North Carolina, just sold not too long ago for $195. I believe this one had a reserve of $82.5, and we put $6,000 into the rehab and some good marketing photos. We used eFurnished for that. But yeah, I don't even know if I would consider it rehab. We did $6,000 in minor repairs, bought it for $82.5, and then sold it for $195. This was, I want to say this was another.
It's yours,
we used eFurnished. Yeah, we used eFurnished is for depending on the type of home we're listing, the list price and whether the home's financeable, we'll have eFurnished run our photos. So sometimes they'll just do touch-ups. they can make the grass green or the sky
Right.
blue, things like that.
Amazing.
But if it's a higher end financeable home, they'll do a few staged photos for us.
Beautiful.
And we got a pretty good deal with them because they handle a lot of our portfolio, even outside of our funds. But yeah,
And these
so
are
this
tricks of
one,
the trade, right? If you can, a lot of you guys are out there in the retail market, so you know the pitches sometimes for everything, right? A lot of us are on the retail side or actual realtors, and so tricks of the trade. She's got an AI, if you will, that does half these photos, right? And then sometimes they need to, they'll get out there and stage. So another cost saving tip, right? And so yeah, I don't know. I love bringing the community to the proximity of this type of like talent, just so you can see what's actually going on. A lot of us understand this, right? So it's a little different than investing in what's this, Bitcoin and stuff, because we may not understand that, so it might turn our stomachs. You understand about buying a house for 100, put it in 6, showing up some pictures and selling it for 180. What do you got here?
so this one is running with Wisconsin. We bought, sold it for 180. I believe we bought this one for 120 and did $5,000 in cleanup. So another one. This one doesn't have as good photos for. I think I don't think they're pulling our listing photos, but yeah, another one that was in pretty good shape. So
Did it sell pretty quickly, or?
let me see if I have information on days on market. Did initial services. So I don't have days on market in there, but I could pull it from our system.
It's all right. I'm figuring it didn't cause you much pain. I didn't hear it in your voice.
No, this was a pretty smooth one, I believe. So it looks like we did listed for sale.
So as we
We had
wrap
a
this up,
here.
let's talk about a few things in case we have any last questions. We have about 5 more minutes or so left. What level of involvement do you have on the portfolios? And let's talk about my level of involvement. So I am bringing the community to the table, more of a fundraiser, right? And so I work with them closely with their portfolios, mostly because I understand what they're doing, right? But by all means, they don't necessarily need me involved with the hands-on, which is, again, what I don't really want to do either. But have I done this before? A lot of you guys know, yes, I manage small micro portfolios for a lot of you guys right now, right? This is an opportunity to get someone with nationwide systems and to take some of that off my plate, and so I can just bring people to this trusted system. So my active role is going to be to bring as much of this money to the table so we can get them to start actually acquiring these assets and bringing some of that bacon home, right? And so, Tyler, how involved and what is your role within the fund, if you don't mind?
Yeah, I will be reviewing and authorizing any acquisitions for the fund, especially through CWCOT. The HECMs we do kind of in a larger group, but CWCOT, I'm working in that system day to day, so super familiar with that, and we're working with the agents. We do have other asset managers that we work with now, and I'm usually overseeing the portfolio. But my history, I started as an asset manager too, so I've worked all of these assets from start to finish, loans and real estate, on the phone with agents every day. And we have a team now too that I work with, but yeah, I'll be overseeing any of the acquisitions. Usually we get the list from the auction companies or from the other system for SB 1079. And we're doing an online analysis of which properties look promising. And we're on the phone with agents, having them drive by, getting us photos, doing analysis. And then for some of them, even walking through for the inspection. So for CWCOT, we do an initial drive-by for a property. If the property is vacant, we get access from the seller's preservation company, and we schedule with an agent to walk through. And sometimes they'll either FaceTime, video us, or at the very least get us some super thorough photos from the inspection. And we'll bring all that back in for our final analysis and run it through our model where we are projecting out cash flows for insurance, taxes, all of that. And then it'll be a lot of eyes on it before it gets the green light to actually be funded. So we're already doing that every day, actually, for our other institutional partners. A lot of them won't even necessarily look at what we're acquiring for them. They just heavily rely on us to do all of the analysis and due diligence. They don't have the time or team in place to be on the phone with agents looking at individual properties. So we'll make recommendations, and they rely on us for that already. So this is not really anything new than what we're already doing.
A lot of us are familiar with that process, right? Like I said, we run individual assets brick by brick, so we're familiar with that. So you're thinking to yourself, how do I scale up, right? And then you might be thinking, how do I scale up without interrupting my family life, right? So this is the answer to that, right? You can let them take care of it. And I think that's what you'll see a lot of the institutional or bigger money guys do, right? So someone's got their own 5 million and they want to have their own mini fund, they can come and talk to us about taking down some notes. I've got a question in the chat that says, can SB 1079 be rented to LMI renters or must be sold to LMI buyers only? I'm going to let her answer that. However, I would like to specifically say, for the sake of profit and what we do, our goal is always to get things sold and off our books, right? So you guys can get your money. But I will. Do you need me to repeat the question by any chance, Tyler?
You cut out for a moment at the end, but I think I got it. Yes, for the program, it does allow the property to be rented. For the purposes of our capital, we're never looking to hold rentals. What is great about the ability for it to be held is that it is an option for a backup option. So if the property, we can't find an LMI buyer in a place where we were hoping to be able to sell it, holding as a rental would be kind of our backup. We don't plan that we would need to do that because we believe that we have the neighborhoods targeted down pretty well from our first test run. But in any extenuating circumstances, we could hold on to it for a little bit if we needed to, and hold it as a rental.
Awesome. Good to know. So I appreciate you guys taking the time today. We want to be considerate of everyone's time. She also has a young baby, so I just always like to bring that up and congratulate the new mom. So I love babies, as you know. We love the kids around here. But if you don't mind, let's put some contact information in chat real quick, Tyler, on how people can contact us. I just got my official PEMCO Capital email. I don't have it memorized just yet. Is it simply Jasmine at PEMCO Capital? Do you know? Do you remember, Tyler? What my email
Sorry,
is?
Jasmine, you cut out a little bit at the end there. Could you say the question one more time?
Yeah, I was just saying that I want to give them contact information on how to reach us. And I just got my official PEMCO Capital email. I just don't remember what it is, if it's just Jasmine at PEMCO Capital. But can you throw your contact information into the chat if you have not already?
Yeah, I will put my email in there, and I think yours should match too. Mine's Amaya at PEMCO, and yours should be the J Willow.
Oh, Willow. Well, okay.
Willow.
So J
Yeah,
Willow at PEMCO Capital. So it's official, it's real. I'm so excited for those of you who have watched me grow to this. Just thank you for coming and showing support. If you have investors that would love to consider this, I will tell you right now with this last 2 minutes, people who are having trouble right now, anyone who's invested in Trinity Capital, that is a huge fund. If you don't know them, they're in trouble right now because of the commercial market going upside down. So many of their investors are leaving. So if you know anyone invested in Trinity Capital, send them our way. We are poised to be in a very strategic position now because of our asset class that we're investing in. So I look forward to seeing you. Again, if anyone else is looking to get into like more bigger deals, this is us. We'll see you soon, and we will be in Irvine on the 9th of April. Thank you so much. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you, Jasmine.